Welcome back, everyone, to T&K Sports Talk. We are joined once again for the second straight year, Mr. Gayle Saunders of 4th and Jawn. Thanks for coming on, man.
What's up, man? How you been, man? I love you're already starting the podcast off right with the Kelly Green.
Hell yeah.
I like the vibes.
Gotta love bringing it back. But today's topics, we're going to get into some free agency reactions. It's been a couple weeks since the last episode. I did a mock draft, and, since then, a lot of crazy shit's been happening, man. I mean, you got Deshaun Watson going to the Browns. I mean, Devontae Adams moving on from the Packers. There's a lot going on, man. Like, what move kind of stands out to you the most, like when you're just thinking about how crazy this offseason's been so far?
There's been so many. I mean, you could talk about the Aaron Rodgers, him coming back to the Packers. You could go Tom Brady unretiring, Russell Wilson being moved. I mean, Deshaun Watson off the bat, I think that's been the most discussed topic of the offseason. Where he was going to go was really in question mark. I know our Eagles were involved in some way, but the fact that he got $235 million guaranteed after his situation, coming out of his situation, I think for him in his camp, that's a ultimate W. But I think it set precedent moving forward. I mean, and everyone's looking at the Browns sideways, but if you're the Browns, he's probably the best quarterback you've had in probably forever, in a long time. So it's weird. I mean, you have fans that are like falling out of love with their own team in Cleveland, which we knew was going to happen. Whatever fan base you went to, people were going to feel a certain way. But I think that move right there, it's a weird situation.
Yeah, as I'm sitting here in Michael Vick jersey, what do you think? Which reaction do you think is actually stronger? Watson or Vick? Because I mean, like Vick was, he was doing time, and
I mean, my whole idea was he did time, like he paid for his crime, like he went to prison. Everyone likes a redemption story. Obviously, if you're a dog owner or what, just the whole idea of what he was doing didn't sit well with a lot of people. But the fact that he got arrested and had to pay for his crime, that's where it's different, like situations with like Roethlisberger and like Deshaun Watson, knowing that they're not going to have to do anything, or again, we still don't even know what Watson's situation, but we do know Roethlisberger, he paid up some money. But again, the weird thing is no one ever mentions like Peyton Manning. He had a cake. No one ever talks about that. He paid off that woman as well. So it's like, and he's the golden child of, it's just weird. But it's a tough situation, like again, like the magnifying glass is on the NFL, right?
Yeah. So. I just keep looking at Cleveland, and I just keep looking at Baker Mayfield. As soon as I saw that the trade went through, I was half expecting seeing Baker part of the deal, but I guess not. I mean, I'm guessing their head is just kind of like, we expect Deshaun Watson to get some sort of suspension, so let's try to ride Baker and maximize his value. Maybe get a few wins.
Then Baker is he said he's distancing himself from the team.
Yeah,
but Baker, they who was it? The Moore Report. He was saying that they wanted someone that acted like an adult, like the way he handles himself. I wouldn't want him as my quarterback. I mean, the funny thing is that he had his own troubled background. Like he got arrested, ran from the cops. He still got drafted overall, like number 1 overall. Like, I mean, it's just. But again, I just don't like the way he carries himself.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it at Oklahoma. The whole thing with Ohio State, and then his last year, the whole thing with Kansas. When he grabbed himself toward the Kansas sideline, that was the whole deal.
Like, come on, man. I mean, you know, everyone's watching. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, again, like every team in the NFL is looking for a starting quarterback. So they will let things slide, but hey, it is what it is, man. I'm glad Baker is not our quarterback.
Yeah, for real.
Imagine we traded for Baker.
Oh my God.
Breaking news.
Eagles trade 19 for Baker.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. But what are your thoughts on Russell Wilson? Because that was a big thing with our birds. We've always been linked to him. Since he was coming in. 10 years ago. He and Denver paid a haul. Man, they gave up a lot.
I know they did, but if you think about from Denver's perspective and how long they've been in like QB purgatory, trying to find the next guy after Peyton Manning had left. And John Elway, you talking about a guy who's been a phenomenal quarterback. The fact that he can't find his guy is taking this long, and that you got to pay the piper, and they did. So you just talk about Russell Wilson coming off an injury season where he's hardly ever hurt. So the fact that he looked like a normal dude out there at times playing through injury, it is what it is. You expect him to rebound from that. I think he's going to inject. I mean, we've seen what he's done to our Eagles. I just thought it was funny that the way, obviously we were sniffing around Russell Wilson as well, but the way that people talked about Russell Wilson this offseason, like he was no one. I was like, really? Since
completely discounted that he's been, top 5, top 10 quarterback the last 10 years. Like, come on.
You know how hard that is to do?
Consistently, instead of just having like a Carson Wentz, have a, okay, 2016, you shine in 2017, then you down to earth, and now you're a commander.
Yeah. I mean, we're just talking about levels of consistency and where Russell Wilson is in his career, coming from a 3rd round selection.
Yeah.
He had tip to Seattle for drafting him right before us, but he's been a level of consistency that you can't take away from his game, and I mean, he hats off to him and Sierra.
Oh man, thank God we ended up with Nick Foles anyway. That's all I got to say on that situation.
I mean, it all worked itself out, and Nick Foles is about to get traded again.
Yeah, you think he has a spot back here, or is that sale gone?
I was talking to some people about that yesterday, and I was like, there's no way I could be mad at it because I love him for what he's done. I mean, I'll always have a home in Philadelphia. I mean, for what he's done. I just feel like he has. I still, does he have more in the tank? Maybe, but it'd just be a weird scene to bring him back. I think it adds an element of would it stress out Hurts knowing that he's got a former guy who has a statue outside the stadium, like breathing down his neck,
knowing that 90% of the fan base is on his side pretty much because of everything he's done. Yeah.
I just don't think you want to bring that into your locker room. Like if you're just talking about bringing on, you talk about when they brought him into the locker room, it divided some guys, because Wentz was in the locker room, and but that could have been done by Wentz's own doing. But it just is like the whole Wentz commander thing is really, it's crazy. It's crazy to see him back in NFC East. It's crazy to see that he's on his 3rd team in the last 2 years. It's crazy to see Irsay completely throw him to the wolves. His comments are like, it's the mistake I couldn't wait to fix. Like, what was he doing behind the scenes again? I mean, I don't even know where you stand in terms of your Wentz fandom, but like, their Wentz stands are still like trying to make this excuse. I mean, at one point in time, he must be doing something wrong that has people feeling a certain way.
Yeah. Me personally, I was always a Wentz guy. That was until, I'm a guy where I will always back, my quarterback until he gives me a reason not to. That's just always how I roll. I rolled with McNabb, I rolled with Vic, even, rolled with Kevin Cobb once upon a time before he got planted into the grass by Clay Matthews. But for me, it was once Wentz kind of quit on the team. I know it's kind of like harsh to put into words, but judging by how things were ending and how the relationship was kind of broken, what could have easily been, going into the locker room on clean out day and, being the captain, you have that C on your jersey. You need to be a leader. And, he just seems like the type of guy that just cleaned out his locker and left instead of just saying like, hey guys, let's get back to work. We know what we can do. We did it a few years ago. Some of these guys are still here. Kelsey, you're still here. Lane, all y'all are still my teammates and my brothers. But none of that happened. He just said, I'm unhappy. I want out. You guys clearly blindsided me with Hurts, and I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, we had Chris Long on our podcast, and he said that the thing with Wentz, it was him coming back too soon, coming and playing injured. He said he wasn't the natural leader like Foles was. He said he was just, it was kind of awkward in that sense of him being a leader at times. But he said he was like, he wasn't a bad guy. But, he's like, and then again, I wasn't a wide receiver. So by that comment, again, like I've heard from other people and players, their, takes, wide receivers takes on what happened. And at the end of the day, it seemed like a very bad scene. It seemed like the words that I heard were entitled were, the connecting part. It's if you look at the Eagles, the big thing with the team now is about connecting. It's a part of the built-in dynamic of what the culture they're trying to build, and those words mean something to me. Like they want their team to connect. And obviously there was something missing there, and it is what it is. But the funny thing is, we didn't think we had to deal with it. We got that one. Thank you very much. Then here he is back in the NFC. So I feel like at least it adds some juice to the rivalry. That Washington and the Eagles. We all know it's Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Eagles, but this Washington Philly rivalry now with Carson Wentz in the mix, I feel like it adds a little juice.
Yeah, sucks for him. He wanted out of Philly, and now he's got to play, 2 times a year in front of Philly crowds. Once in Philly and one down in FedEx. I know you guys usually make the trip down. I've been trying to get down to Washington for the past few years now.
You gotta come down with this, man. You gotta come down with this.
I know
it's a sight. It's always, we take over the stadium. We always, it's always a good time. I mean, last time I was there, I was there for when the stands were falling out of the stands. We had our guy Andrew. He showed up he's the guy that got the gloves from Hurts.
Yeah.
But it's just like anytime you're there, it's just always something crazy. The last time we had Nigel Bradham literally fall in our laps, so that was a cool time. So hey, man, you got to come with us next time we go down there.
I know, man. I know. Like I've always been like so loyal to like going to the link and everything, but like, and that's always great. getting in F1, getting with all you guys, having a blast. But I've been to one road game in my life, and that was down in Miami in 2019. I need to avenge that road disaster.
And it's funny because I ended up like hanging out with your brother. It's your brother, right? Yeah, down in Tampa. And then it's funny because he has the same kind of demeanor that you do. And just to see him come in and like, hang out with like these other random Eagle fans. Like one dude was like I believe from Kansas. And it was just like good to see. And the next day they all showed up together. Like that's pretty much what we're all about, bringing people together. So it was cool to see. I mean, we're all geeked up for something. It was a playoff game, but we got shredded like taco meat, and we were We were all pretty much in our fields after the game. Like I couldn't get out of Tampa faster than I did that day.
Yeah. I'm just glad that we don't have to live with knowing that we were Tom Brady's last win anymore.
Yeah, man. I mean, that man, I'm telling you that being at that game, because you definitely saw because we were down there when Deshaun torched us that game when he was with the Bucks.
Yeah,
But to
wasn't
me,
that the game where it was like 115 degrees, like close down to the field?
I looked like a human milk dead. Melted. I was melting out there. And then but the fan dynamic, like the fans weren't as cocky or arrogant as they were with Brady. It added a level of like stench to it, where at the same party where your brother was at, this girl came up. She's like, "What are you guys doing here?" Like, I'm like, she's like, "Oh, it's Eagle fans having a party, get ready for the game." She's like, "Well, I'm a Washington fan / Bucks fan, Brady fan." I'm like, "What?" The guy that sat next to us in the game was I'm a Bills fan first, but I'm / Bucks fan. I'm like, how can you be a Bills fan and now you're a Bucks fan part-time because of Tom Brady?
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So the level of fandom there, it's a little weird.
Yeah, that's a big red flag for Bills Mafia right there. That man's going through a table next time he's on site.
Yeah, we got ridiculed, man. We got laughed out of the stadium. Legit. It was bad. Like I went there twice already. I'm kind of like, will I go there again? I'm not sure.
I can tell you that Miami is a different type of animal, though. If you ever
did you went there? I've been to Miami. My brother used to live in Miami, but you were there for when they lost.
Yeah, that horrible game. Yeah.
The Devontae Parker breakout game.
Yeah. I was there with my brother. Yeah, it was about a 4-hour ride from Tampa to Miami.
Okay.
For a 1:00 game, left about 5 a.m. or so to get down there.
Mm-hmm.
And flying back from Tampa, we drove back up after getting back in Harrisburg. Dude, I just felt like a totally different human being after that experience.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, when you go on the road, it's again, like, just meeting so many different people, like the fact that like you'd link up with all these Eagle fans who are real, like, kind of displaced or whatever. So everyone comes together. So I think being on the road a lot this year, it was just great to see, especially after the pandemic. It was good to see like a bunch of Eagle fans and just like enjoy your birds, despite what transpired the last couple of years.
Yeah. but yeah, man, we got the draft coming up in a few weeks. I did a mock a couple weeks ago. I need to do it.
How are we looking? What was your you did a full mock?
I did do a full mock 1 through 32.
Okay.
But the three birds picks, I have to go back to my sheet here that I have sitting right beside me.
Have at it.
Hold, please. So the birds, this was before everything, went down a couple weeks ago. I had us at 15, taking Traylon Burks out of Arkansas. That was mainly just because I feel like, and still kind of birds are searching for that big-bodied wide receiver to, pair alongside Devontae Smith. But after, seeing so many things with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and that, there were so many Eagles scouts at the Ohio State Pro Day, it definitely leads you to believe that they're, after those caliber guys. But then at 16, I had him taking, Nakobe Dean, mainly just going best player available right there. That was to fill my satisfaction of linebacker.
That's what you would have done.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. Yeah, I would have done many things different if I was in the GM chair, but there's a reason I'm not. But then at 19, I had us taking Andrew Booth. I know that's still, very, very much in play. Mainly just because I feel like, corner depth is really lacking right now.
Right.
I mean, you got Darius Slay. Of course, he's gonna lock up your number one guy. You got Avonte Maddox, but we saw it in years past. He's not a outside corner at all. He's one of those dudes that's best served, serving in the nickel, closer to the line, guarding the underneath routes. I feel like Andrew Booth. I watched a lot of tape on this guy. He likes to play a lot of man, and he closes out really quick on screen passes and things of that nature. And playing in the ACC, where it seems like a lot of these guys are like really coming in, really athletically gifted at wide receiver position and running back. If you can get a corner that can close out really quick and able to tackle real well, that makes all the world of difference. Especially when you're dealing in the NFC East. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott. Guys that can bounce to the outside. If you don't have corners that can tackle, that's how you get smoked for 50 yards down the field on a simple halfback dive.
Okay. I mean, you like his athleticism, you like his aggressiveness. I feel like he's a player that I have, like, he's one of my third ranked cornerbacks. I mean, he does have the size. He's 6 foot 193. Like some people are talking about McDuffie, like he's the guy. I don't know, man. Like some people have him McDuffie higher than Booth. I mean, he's a little smaller, 5'11", 195.
Yeah, and I definitely contemplated going, McDuffie right there at 19. I'm just at the set of, I'm a lot like you. I like to watch a lot of full tape, because you get trapped into highlight videos. You don't see the whole thing. You only see the things that they do great. You need to see the whole picture. I saw a lot of McDuffie, playing in the nickel, and I thought, since we already have Avonte Maddox, kind of defeats the purpose, kind of makes you make a decision there that doesn't really have to be made when you can go with Andrew Booth, who has played on the outside pretty much his whole college career, more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where I'm thinking, like, is he better suited to play on the inside? Obviously, like corners that can play with versatility. Could he be a guy that could, you plug and play day one? Is he better in as a zone corner? And that's, we do a lot of zone here, and I feel like, to me, I'm like, give me a guy who can do that, but like, it's got to be life after Gannon too. Like Gannon could be out the door next year. So I mean, bring me the beast. Like bring me Sauce if you're really trying to like really do some things. But
that's the dream.
That is the dream. But who's your third pick in that first round?
No, that
19 picks.
Yeah, that was Andrew Booth at 19 right there.
Okay, you had who was your first one again?
15 was Traylon Burks.
Okay,
16 was Nakobe Dean. Yep.
Okay. All right. I mean, like, people have been asking me, like, I spend about 10 hours a day talking about the Eagles, if I'm being real. It's pretty bad. So it's multiple conversations with multiple people every day about the Eagles. So the whole theory of getting a linebacker, while it sounds great, and we know we just especially bringing in Kaiser White, to me that tells you that we're not going linebacker in the first round. While it would be great, I just don't. I've taken linebackers out of my mocks completely in the first round. round. My mocks have looked a little bit like Garrett Wilson. If he's there, he's always the guy. Like he's always the pick for me. I mean, obviously we have the 16th pick, so I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. But I'm always getting Garrett Wilson if I can. A mix and match of DT.
Yeah.
Cornerback, if there's best available cornerback, and edge. But the thing is, we did bring back Derek Barnett. We do not know what Brandon Graham is as a man in his almost mid-30s, coming off a torn Achilles. Like, you can't say he's going to be the same Brandon Graham that we know. We obviously missed what he brought to the table, but do we know this version with a torn Achilles? Because it's not the same in theory.
Yeah.
So
And let alone, I mean, saw it all last year. Our defensive line was bottom of the league in sacks. And
29th?
I really feel like, and I really feel like a lot of that had to do with just not only just missing, Brandon Graham's ability to play on the field, just his leadership in the locker room, being able to, mentor some of the young guys. I mean, we saw some flashes out of, Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett is what he is. But like after that, I mean, we saw Teron Jackson, guys like that come in, plug and play a couple times last year. But I feel like you're really missing Brandon Graham.
Just think about that Super Bowl team. Brandon Graham and Malcolm Jenkins, just off the bat, without thinking in terms of like the whole team. Just think about what those two players brought energy wise, like, and accountability wise. So like, we're looking for that next guy in the group to like, or if he's not here, like, we know what Cox is. Is he that vocal leader? I mean, he's a lead by example, kind of like he just is what he is. He's a captain or whatever. But who is the guy that brings them all together? Like, we have journeyman linebackers. We have TJ Edwards, who's for undrafted free agent. He's pulled his weight, but he's not like the alpha. We have Slay, who's leadership wise, and he's a jokester. I think he's a leader of the cornerback group, but is he the leader of the defense? I'm not really sure. But like, we need somebody, whether it's young talent, someone's got to come in here, and that's why we got an extra spot open, safety. Like, you bring a Tyrann Mathieu, I'm like, there's a guy who's a leader.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. I mean, you sign Tyrann Mathieu, and maybe you can even bring back McLeod on a cheap little 1-year deal to always put it back in.
But you know how they are. Like, they got Eps here.
Yeah.
but people, it's fun. I mean, these people are like, yeah, he's developed, but again, like, I'm like, is Epps what I described? Is like, he's not. So I mean, what is important to this roster right now? Like, because I mean, you're at this point where you're like, you're roster building and you're bringing pieces that make sense, but cultural fits. Like, what kind of player? Like, what kind of vibe are you trying to build here? Like, I think you got to infuse this team with some energy and juice. So that's where I'm at with the defense. Like, there's no, like, to me, that guy that stands out and is like, oh, that's the alpha.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you look at LA. I mean, they just signed Bobby Wagner to a lucrative contract. You look at those guys. Obviously, first comes to mind Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and now you got Bobby Wagner.
Come on, like, you just said it right there.
You're talking about 3 alphas on each.
That's what I'm saying.
On each line of the football on defense. That's
3 levels of. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, and I'm not saying that like I'm mad at the Eagles for not bringing Wagner in here, but this is not the scene or situation that Wagner, who's a veteran and a leader on his team, does he want to come to Philly or win now and try to get on a Super Bowl roster and live the LA lifestyle as a billionaire?
Yeah.
Like, is he going to come to Philly and hang out and live in New Jersey and eat crab fries? And like, what else what is going on out here that he needs to be out here? Like, because I get that. Like, what about Wagner? I'm like, he doesn't. That's why you have to draft your own guys to build the culture. Like, you have to
sign these Philly guys like Hassan Reddick and Kaiser White.
Do you think that's the other thing is, do you think that's coincidence? I don't think so. Like,
no,
these guys want to be here.
Guys that are already familiar with the lifestyle.
Yeah, they're all about the craft. They're all about the cheese. Look, no, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying they're all about, Hassan Reddick, Camden native, Kaiser White went to Emmaus High School, was an Allentown kid. Pascal grew up around here. I think 100 miles away from Philly. So I mean, again, but also cultural fit. You know, the dog mentality started with Zach Pascal, like bringing him in, which is not exciting in any means in terms of the free agent market, wide receiver market, but a move that everyone thought that was going to happen. Like a lot of pundits, a lot of analysts were like, oh, Pascal's going to make sense. And again, that sign to me is like, all right, culturally, they're trying to bring in some guy who UDFA, journeyman, became a favorite of Sirianni, a guy who he said he wants his son to model his game after, like selflessness, a guy who's out there blocking, the guy who's like bringing his hard hat and lunch pail. Like, again, like that, to me, that's also speaks to Jawn, speaks to Reagor. It's what they haven't brought to the table that Pascal's going to, regardless. So, like, you have a wide receiver 4 or 5 that can play special teams and is going to bring that dog mentality, and they trust, you know. So,
Yeah, you think that pushes Reagor out? I mean,
I think,
you think he's kind of, one of those late July, gets dealt for, 4th round pick.
I think Reagor is a guy who's being thrown around in trade scenarios. I felt like that trade with Ridley, I felt like he would have probably been involved in that trade. I think, we talk about Dillard being a trade piece. I think those guys are throw-ins into a potential package somewhere. I mean, you just think that, is he a guy that needs a new change of scenery? Because what he's been putting out there on the field has just not been in. And it's not we see the athleticism, we see him flash, we see him burn Patrick Peterson on a post, throw was a little bit behind him. But you see those kind of things where he flashes and gets open and makes him one-handed grabs and training camp practices. You see the mental where he's feet are out of bounds. Was at the 49ers game.
Yeah.
It's just the thing. He hasn't put it together, and he hasn't, his father's out here in people's DMs, like friends I know, like you're the professional here. Like why is your dad out here in people's DMs questioning people about, like, what Philly is? You work for you work for the Eagles. I mean, so I just don't know why I get it. Like, he's getting it. And I root for the kid, but you got to handle yourself professionally. And I know the Eagles, from what I've heard, they don't like some of the things that has happened over the last couple of years.
Yeah, because I mean, Reagor, it's been an all-around struggle. At least you can look at, Jawn and say, like, okay, well, he is obviously not worthy of the 2nd-round pick that we used on him, but at least he can be used as a special teams blocker.
I think at some point in time, you have to cut your losses. Like, if you're in a bad relationship, where it's going. It's not going anywhere. But, like, what are we doing here? Are we gonna lock this up? We're gonna buy a house together. We're gonna have some kids. Like, it's not going there. Then why are you still here? And I think that's this team has to, again, they bring back Derek Barnett, but again, it's a different scene out here. Like, getting a serviceable edge rusher is harder to do than finding a serviceable. There's a serviceable wide receiver. Like, I think you can. There's more wide receivers that you can potentially get than edges that could come in and be serviceable. So I think Reagor and Jawn, is pretty much the targets on them. I don't think they'll both be back. Maybe I think they should both be moved on from. But if they want to, like, hang out with Reagor and let him try and see what he brings to the table this year, just because, I'm not going to be mad at it. But it's not going to deter me from drafting a wide receiver in the 1st round.
Yeah, are you double dipping at all at wide receiver? Going one 1st round, then going one, I don't know, 4th. fifth.
Yeah, I mean, I think because if you're going to look at the strength of the draft and go BPA, like it really does suit our needs. It also suits our needs for defensive end, edge rushers. Like they're there. Like from first to like third round, edge rushers are going to be there. Like
Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis.
and like I'm telling you, they're all like, because some people out here will like they'll sit here and bash a prospect. They'll pick one. That's my guy. But that's not how it is. Like you got to know which one does what, what their skill set is, what their superpower is. And Karloff is a guy like he's got that strength. He's got that it factor in terms of like mentality wise. He's definitely wired different. He's already a professional, like the way he carries himself. He's already like he's a workhorse in the gym, diet. Like he's on that. Like have you looked into his backstory?
Karlaftis.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how like he even at a young age, like he told everyone like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a first round pick. I'm going to the NFL," and like lo and behold, like
well, his both his parents met at Wake Forest, and his dad was from Greece, and that's how they ended up moving to Greece after they his parents got married or whatever. He was like a water polo training for the Junior Olympics kind of thing in Greece with grown men. Like, and his dad has a heart attack, and he ends up his dad dies at the age of 47.
wow.
So his mom takes the kids back to because they grew up right in the town where Wake Forest is at. So they're local kids. He doesn't know English. He's out here, he was the kicker as a freshman for the team. Turns into didn't even want to play football, but a friend of the family that was a coach was like, you should really come and play football. So he goes from the kicker to becoming, getting letters of like as a sophomore. Like he really transformed himself, and then on his bedroom wall, he has prove him wrong. That's the quote that he lives by. Prove him wrong. So he's really built. Like you see that type of stuff, you're like, man, this kid is locked in, ready to go. Plays with a lot of strength. I don't think his athleticism is compared to the other, twitched up edge rushers, but the strength is there. I think
ability
like
to push the tackle back.
Yeah, I think he just has to have another set of. I just think his game plan has to be, because you're going against college linemen at the next level. You got to have a third. If we're talking about the bat belt, you got a Batman belt. You got to have another utility weapon to use.
Yeah, like basically every top tackle that he faced in college, that's everyone, in the O line in the NFL.
Well, then they talk about his arms being shorter.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'll take that with a grain of salt, but he definitely does have heart. Who else were we talking about that you mentioned? The edges. Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
Met him down at the Senior Bowl. Very, very cool, down to earth dude. I told him I was like, Eagle fans want you. I said, there's a reason why I'm stopping to talk to you. Like, you're on my target list, and it was great to see him down there. Believe me, like he didn't have to play in the Senior Bowl. He didn't have to play in the practice in the third or fourth practices because he was murdering everyone down there, like straight up.
Yeah, what was it that one shot where it was like one-on-one drills and like Trevor Penning, who's like he completely like
it was Kennard from Kennard from Kentucky.
Kennard, yeah,
Who was having he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. I actually met him as well, but he got bent in half. And he was just like, Jermaine Johnson was like, yeah, I don't gotta this. I'm good. Like everyone was like, he made his money. He's good. I'll take him, but I feel like his stock has risen a little bit. I don't know exactly if that's the media stock or is it how the teams, NFL teams see him, like, because Trayvon Walker as well, like from Georgia.
Yeah.
How have you watched him at all?
Not as much as I would like. I'm still, looking at tape of, pretty much every edge rusher, because in the draft, it seems like they always drop like flies for some reason. Like the edge rushers that you think are like locks for like top 15, top 20, some of them go into the second round and you're wondering how they're even still there.
Like there's so many guys, man. Like boy, my fave from Minnesota had a um, great Senior Bowl. He's a guy that I guarantee that dude probably interviews well. Got a great backstory to him. Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati, maybe the second round to back end of the second if you're looking for edge. A little slender. Igbenari from South Carolina. I met all these guys down at the Senior Bowl. We had this friend of the show. He was his brand, Sweat clothing brand. Shout out to Adam. He was doing a photo shoot with all these players. So it was like all of them were just sitting there and we were just hanging around. We had this football throwing. We had to put up money to get in this pot. First guy to hit the bottom of the goalpost. It was Igbenari. It was Sanders. It was Kobe Bryant. A whole bunch of players. Man, it was hilarious. But yeah, the edge rushing class is so deep, man. It's the perfect time to draft edge this year.
Now, getting into more of that, we saw, it sucks. Seems like every year happens to somebody. David Ojabo is the latest guy to suffer an injury at a pro day. If you're sitting there at 19 and you don't see a trade suitor, are you taking him and stashing him and saying, like, that's basically our first round, like an extra first round pick next year?
I mean, in theory, it sounds cool, and it sounds like a Sidney Jones type move. But that's a question that has been like sent to me over and over again. I think Ajabo's game is built off his raw athleticism, right? So it's like we want to refine his game, his technique. Like he's done all that stuff without being a refined technician. So now his game's based off of athleticism. His athleticism just took a hit. He's coming off a torn Achilles. And I feel awful for him because he probably lost about $10 million.
Yeah.
And everything was going right for him. I think he would have definitely been on the market for the Eagles. And I felt like it shifted the whole board completely. So Karlaftis, Jermaine Johnson for their stock. Now they don't got to worry about Ojabo ruining their stock. So I think every edge got a boost up. Now you're seeing like guys like Boye Mafe move up, but Ojabo, if you're talking second round, if he's still on the board, they probably have a number of where they feel comfortable taking him. Like if they move back from the 19th pick and picked him up and recoup some other draft picks, and you scored a Ojabo. Okay. Is he the next away? They're both teammates in high school. But yeah, man, it would be interesting. I'd rather get immediate impact. I've been saying that, like, you can literally get 3 guys from this 15, 16, 19 plug and play starters. Just think about our roster. Where are we lacking at? CB2 starter. Safety. If you wanted to go safety, you could essentially grab a safety and have a starter there.
Who was signed at 19?
He might be early for some people. Some people like his game. If you were to move back from 19, yeah, seen is a beast, man. 4.3, got the range on the back end. He's very cerebral. A lot of people liked him. Was it Daxton Hill from
from Michigan?
Michigan.
Jaquan Brisker, second round.
Brisker from Penn State. Jalen Petrie from is it Petrie or Piter? Petrie, I believe, from Baylor. Another guy can give you some hybrid elements. So that's second round that'd be a nice little safety spot for me. I'm totally like I've in my head I've been like gearing myself up mentally like of where we could actually move up. So like from 15, I was doing the math. If you traded the second round pick with the 15th overall pick in the first round draft, it's about 1440. From the point value system, 1440 will get you to about the 8th pick, which is who's that, Atlanta?
Yeah. You going after
7 and
Kyle
8, like
Hamilton or Stingley?
that's what I'm saying. Like, so if there's a guy and if they know where the QBs are going, if they don't feel like if they wanted to get a QB and they could move back and still get their guy, you can secure a QB, move back a little bit, give you some extra ammo for a team that's a QB needy team that's drafting higher than normal, like Malik Willis, Pickett, Desmond Ritter. I'm trying to think who else I think is going to go in the first.
You call up Pittsburgh to jump ahead of QB needy teams like New Orleans.
And believe me, like if Mike Tomlin was all over the place following Malik Willis, like we're sitting in there just scouting and like, we're like, bro, kid, you're stalking him right now. He just like Malik Willis's arm is, when you talk about arm talent, and obviously he might take some time to develop. People were saying, "Oh, he's like Jalen Hurts, but with a better arm."
Yeah,
Definitely.
In my mock, I had him going 6 to Carolina.
Oh yeah, okay. That's yeah. I mean, you talk about Seattle, Carolina, Washington. Who else? Pittsburgh. All in play for a QB. I mean, so all this talk of like taking Kenny Pickett out to the dinner sounds great and everything. Obviously, Eagle fan. He's a Eagle fan. He said
it's all smoke screen though to try to bait some teams.
Yeah, I think so. Of course, like where we're sitting at, we're in the range of QB. So the teams behind us, if the Saints, if they got Jameis, if they're trying to give someone to develop or whatever, you can always grab a QB there. They're right behind us. It's definitely we're sitting in the trading zone. You know what I mean? It's like we could literally trade back from 15. The team that jumps in front of us is going to draft a quarterback.
13, I think it was. Where were we last year before we traded to 10?
Didn't we go to 6 to 12?
I think so.
And then back to 10.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, yeah, we're right back in that trade zone. Yeah, right in the teens.
And then the 19th pick, you trade back, and then recoup something. Fall back later in the first, recoup a third, another third, or fourth. So
do you think if we could trade back from 19, this is a hypothetical, do you think that Jameson Williams would be in play, coming off of a torn ACL, if you go defense at 15, 16?
I definitely think that's, I went back and I'm literally watching Jameson Williams film right now. Like I went back. I always go back, because I always need to know that I'm seeing it correctly. All right, like I'm not buying to the hype. Go back and watch it weeks later. I'll let it settle, whatever. Jameson Williams, you're talking about what he brings to the table as a deep threat. I mean, he has that locked up. Like he's got stop and start ability. He's got this one double move where he's like he gears up and gears down and gears up. He gears down and gears up. Sells him on like a stutter step, and I'm like, bro, he's running past. He's splitting splitting the safeties in cover 2. Like it's and you're wondering if like his skill set future wise, can you pass up on that? Because we know all his teammates in Garrett Wilson, who I believe that's my number one, will be going earlier than possible. Drake London, potential to go before us as well. Then you have Jameson Williams, and then you have Olave. I think Williams would probably be number 2-1, according to some people. But the fact that he couldn't get on real snaps and beat out Olave and Garrett Wilson at Ohio, he had to go to Alabama and bet on himself. I love that he has that kind of, I'm going to Alabama so I can start. Like he just comes in and is their immediate impact. Like he was their immediate big play guy.
They go from Devontae Smith to Jameson Williams. Like that's the impact that he had there.
But the fact that he came in, like there's dogs that are waiting. Like Mechie, obviously another unforgotten Mechie in the second round, perhaps. He came in and was a dog over Mechie. You're like, bro, like you just got here. So I do like your thinking. I do. I've actually had that question from a lot of people the last couple of days. Like, what do you think about Jim? Oh, you think? I'm like, oh, I'm back on it. Like even with the torn ACL, I'm back on it.
And Shefty did just put out a video, I think late last night, where he's already running.
I was sending that around to people. I was like, yep, he's doing his movements. He's not running yet, but yeah, but man. I mean, like
off a crutch, off a brace, especially a wide receiver, it's a good sign.
I got like, as much as we were talking free agency early about wide receivers. You talk about the market for wide receivers, like average 18 mil for Kirk. Talk about 15.5 for what's the name from the Bears?
A-Rob.
Yeah, A-Rob. Chark got what, 1 year 10 or 12 million?
Yeah.
It's just Marcus Valdes-Scantling got 3 and 30, like 10 average 10 mil. You're like, this class is so stacked. There's no reason for us to be. Obviously, we were in on Kirk. I know Eagles were trying to trade for Kirk before the Zach Ertz thing. They were trying to get Kirk. I heard that numerous times. They're like, how we get Kirk? But they wanted like, I think like a second round for Kirk or whatever to throw in there, and that just didn't happen either. But I think they offered like 13 mil for Kirk. But with the way that this group is stacked up right now, there's no reason to overpay. And I'm perfectly fine getting a dog in the first, because Wilson is a plug and play. Have you watched Wilson?
I have, yeah. And I keep going back to him because Sirianni, what does he always talk about? Precise route running. I don't think there's a more precise route runner in this draft quite like Garrett Wilson. I think he's the top route runner in this class. I think he's the draft crush in the Eagles boards right now.
And I was telling Evan, shout out to Evan and Prime from our Fourth and Jawn show, but I was talking about, I said there couldn't be a better prospect to match BPA and the love for the Eagles. Like, this guy has been an Eagles fan since he was a kid. The way that he speaks about the Eagles is like
the way he speaks about Devontae Smith too, saying that we're gonna do damage if we get together.
Bro, it's the way that the board is set up. It's an almost perfect fit, and I've watched a lot of him. I've watched a lot of his interviews. I know his father was his first love is basketball. Believe it or not, his dad was in the NBA. Played for the Nuggets. I mean, his hops he's got hops too, man. I don't know if you see that play. I think it was against Clemson, where it looks like he's almost 10 feet up in the air, dude. Like,
yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Where he ran like a stutter out route, and like he he jumps in the air and like completely clears the corner. Like the corner could have ran under that dude.
Dude, he's this. I wrote down the words want to with him. There's definitely want to. Like, yeah, he wants to be the guy. He had some focus drops earlier on in his career, but like his level of explosiveness, way he gets in and out of his breaks, the way he gets yak. I mean, 3-level threat. I think just parent this, because this is where we're at with the Eagles, right? You shut down our one, put a spy over Goddard or Devontae, and do you make our third and second wide receiver beat you? We're dealing with Quez and we're dealing with Rager, and they're not precise, crispy, nuanced.
Because Rager even coming out of TCU, he was always viewed as a burner. He was always a guy where if he got the ball in his hands and if he had separation, he was going to break away. There was clips of him burning. Trying to think of his name. He got picked by Detroit like third overall a couple years ago.
Yeah, Jeffrey Okudah.
Yeah, he smoked Okudah in like the Chick-fil-A opening kickoff game, and that was the one thing that early on we all kind of like fell in love with, where it's like, oh, if he's smoking a top 5 pick, there's got to be something there.
Well, he's been struggling, Okudah, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that twitch yet.
Yeah, like if they weren't still sitting on him, I would say that's a prime place for like a Sauce, to go. But I really feel that, like, because right now I have Detroit just taking Aiden Hutchinson, second overall. Mainly just this is why I need to do a second mock. I have Jacksonville taking.
It's what it is, man.
I have Jacksonville taking Aquanu first overall, mainly to take care of Trevor Lawrence, mainly just because I made a little note here. The guy played 203 passing snaps last year, didn't allow a single sack. I mean, I just feel like that's a perfect blindside blocker right there for your investment. Don't have to deal with Urban Meyer, kicking him in practice anymore.
I think Evan Neal gets that automatic. Like he's like, don't overthink it. You plug and play. Again, like I've seen him get beat by twitchy guys, but I think his athletic profile for his size, super lean. He doesn't even look his weight. He's athletic dude. I don't know if you see him do a box jump. Do you see his do his box jump? It's, at his size, doing a box jump like that, I'm like, bro, like you don't see tackles do that. So I mean, from a freak standpoint, and I believe he did make Bruce Feldman's freak list for his have you heard of the Bruce Feldman freak list?
I actually have not.
Yeah, check it out. Just Google Bruce Feldman freak list, and it really brings up all like the freakiest athletes in college sports, like in football, and their traits and like testing numbers. So he's definitely a freaky athlete. And I believe Karlaftis was on there as well. But it's just, I think you definitely have to protect Trevor Lawrence. Some people were like, well, they just re-signed Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
As well. So does that mean, he can play right tackle, he can play guard if you want, Evan Neal. Quano as a run road grader type. I've seen maul a lot of dudes out there. Pretty impressed with his game.
Yeah, man. Because right now I could easily see Jacksonville trading out of that number 1 spot. It may just be one of those things like a day before the draft. I just think the tricky part this year is that years past you see like quarterbacks shoot up the board. One gets into that like top 3 slot and it turns into like the quarterback needy team. It wants the first pick. It wants their guy. And I just think the tricky part this year, I really don't think there's a consensus number 1 overall pick. So I really don't feel like there's going to be a team that's going to like send you future first to get a guy that you easily could have gotten like at like say Carolina, at 6 wanted to trade up to 1 to ensure that they would get like Malik Willis or something like that. Well, he could have easily been there at 6.
It is crazy to think about him going that high, but some team could fall in love. People didn't think Trey Lance would go where he went last year, but he did. He went third overall, right?
Yeah.
It would be wild. It would definitely be wild. Everyone's not overwhelmed. They're not with joy when they talk about this QB class, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder. If they think a quarterback can bring that to whatever they need to the table, I think Detroit needs to move back in a sense where they could recoup more picks.
I actually had them at 32. Kind of had them torn between either taking Christian Watson out of ND State or even taking Sam Howell, out of North Carolina with that 32nd pick. I feel like either one of those is a pretty safe pick where it's like they could be a second round guy, but kind of sitting where you are. Christian Watson is a total plug and play right away. You put him alongside Monterey St. Brown, you're looking at a pretty star-studded young wide receiver core right there. Or you could go Sam Howell and just have him, develop, sit behind Jared Goff for what it's worth, or you could even beat him out, see what goes on with that. But
Christian Watson, definitely a guy that, shout out to Chris Malley. We were down there. That was his guy. He was like, and I watched a lot of Christian Watson. Explosive, could score. He scored in a multitude of ways at North Dakota State. I wanted to see him do against some of the best players down at the Senior Bowl. And he did. He definitely got busy against got a couple passes off McCreary from Auburn. Kobe Bryant mossed him a couple times. So definitely was. I was like, okay, one of my sleepers. This is before the Senior Bowl. Was Calvin Austin from Memphis.
Yeah.
5'8" and 175. People say the numbers. But before I even got down there, I watched a lot of his tape, and now you're hearing everyone like, "Oh, Calvin." I was like, "Bro, I've been on it." There's his twitch, and if you're looking for a punt returner, I'll give you a homework. Go check out Calvin Austin's punt return against Mississippi State. Game on the line, right? Game on the line. He knows the rules. The guy from Mississippi State, the punt team, doesn't down the ball. He touches it, but he doesn't secure it. So Calvin Austin, being a small self, he's around 5 Mississippi State players. He weaves in between their bodies and snatches the ball off the ground, picks it up, and takes it to the house for 80 yards to win the game. To have the kind of balls this kid has to have to actually, first of all, and the IQ to know that they didn't really down it. The ref didn't. He threw something down, but he didn't blow the whistle or anything. Picks the ball up, and he's a true track star. So he takes off, and you couldn't catch him. And if you go back and look at some of his reps against Sauce, he made Sauce Gardner commit a penalty because he was out of position. When he was down there at the Senior Bowl, he burned everyone. So he's also not just slot. You think about him small being, he actually played outside as well. So outside, he was burning everyone.
I think he's just a late day 2 kind of range.
I mean, you look at Tutu Atwell, who went early in the second round. I think teams would probably be more comfortable in the third round. But if you're looking for a guy who can take jet sweeps, do some special teams, could be a game-changing punt returner. I'm trying to get him in for an interview. I'm trying to
trying to do the talk to prospect with him?
Yeah, I'm working my angles to like, you know, trying to get him in, but he's definitely a. Oh, my other guy would be Alex Pierce from Cincinnati.
Okay, I've seen him plenty of times. Yep.
Yeah, his brother actually plays for NC North Carolina. But yeah, he's another guy. One of Ritter's favorite targets out there.
Yeah, I actually have Ritter going to Tennessee at 26.
I mean, if you're talking about a guy to develop, he's a guy who came on strong at the Senior Bowl. It got better as the week went on. Had a great Senior Bowl game. He's already a father, very mature. Has the athletic profile too. Ran a 4.5, and can sneak out the pocket. And I think he has to work on his accuracy and but I felt like he definitely is a guy that I'm a little bit higher on than I expected.
Yeah, man. I know you just talked about Calvin Austin, but do you have anyone else as a late bloomer, even as a day 3?
Well, one of my day 3 guys earlier in the process was Chad Muma from Wyoming. He was a guy that for all the linebacker talk that you get around Twitter and social media, I was like telling people like, I'm not going first round. Check day 3, maybe in the 3rd round. I mean, if you're lucky, you get him. I was like, he did enough. If you're looking at Owen Wilson type move up the board, he's a guy you're hoping that you can get him in the 3rd round. He could be back in the 2nd round. Definitely high football IQ. Really no wasted steps. Really great dude. I'm actually doing a pair of custom Wyoming bands for him. But he really great dude.
That was tough to find anything Wyoming related for that.
Yeah, man. I actually found some stuff, but we have to figure out if we're going brown or yellow. But yeah, good dude, man. Like definitely instincts are there. Definitely a guy that he's not the most athletic, but he's always in the right spot. So Chad Moon would be one of my guys.
I got you. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come onto the show tonight, man. I know, middle of the week, it's always tough. I got a early start tomorrow. I got to hit the hay.
Yeah, man. Always good. It's always good checking in with you, man. Like you've always been, like the conversations again, like that people have. Like it's always great to talk to other Eagle fans that actually are out here doing the research, doing the work. Much continued success to you guys over here, man.
Thanks, man.
Love what you guys are doing.
You guys too, man. Always much love to 4th and Jawn guys. Evan, Prime, you.
You just got to come out to the tailgate soon. Come on, man. Next season.
Man. Oh, that's getting to the tailgate's always a given, man. I don't go to an Eagles game and not go to the 4th and Jawn tailgate. That's just always number 1 on my checklist. Once I park, I make my way over.
That's what I want to hear.
All right, man. I'll let you go. Thanks for coming on to the show this week, and for the viewers and listeners, we'll be right back here again with Mock Draft 2.0. Give me a couple days to make up a new draft. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Gayle.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.